Welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. I'm your host, Krista Francora, and I'm here to bring you captivating stories from some of the most fascinating people I've connected with on my own journey of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wild Remedies podcast. This is a really fabulous episode. You guys are going to love it. It is with my friend Magda Kay. She is an international intimacy expert, a Tantra teacher, and relationship coach for men, women, singles, and all forms of partnerships. In her work, she combines ancient teachings of sacred sexuality, yoga, and energy work together with social psychology and human behavior. And she helps normalize the conversation about intimacy and sexuality. She is introducing Tantra to the West by translating Tantric philosophy and practices into the modern world and modern needs. She has studied in Nepal, India, Thailand, Malaysia, where we met. We used to work together at Valley, and as well as Bali. She's worked with shamans and healers and has gone through many personal initiations. Today, she travels the world, helping unlock the flow of sexual energy for more passion and aliveness in every person's life. So this episode is really for everyone. The conversation went in directions that I didn't think I was going to go in, but it is an absolutely beautiful one that I think you guys are going to love. So without further ado, please meet my wonderful friend, Magda. Welcome, Magda, to the Wild Remedies podcast. Oh my God, it is so good to see your face again. How are you?
Hey, love, I am good. I'll be honest, the last 2 weeks was actually really intense, a lot of purification, but today I'm good.
You've been going through it with a little bit of Mercury retrograde happening, hey?
Yeah, I think was it you who told me that that's what was happening? So I happily will blame everything on Mercury. If I can. Yes, no, seriously, it was like 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of things happening, just pushing me, but I feel like I'm coming out of it. Oof.
Good, good. You're comfortable now. You have working internet.
Yes.
Good. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, the last time I saw you was, what is it, like 8 years ago now when we used to work at Valley? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's been so long. And like, we went to India together. Remember that?
Oh my God, we did, yes. A wedding, right? It was a
Yeah.
wedding in
It was
Mysore.
a wedding. Yes. Well, I think the wedding was in Bangalore and we ended up
Yes.
going to Mysore, which was really cool. And I remember we were kind of disappointed by the wedding. Like the people were really nice and everything, but we were like, oh my God, we're so excited. We're going to see like this amazing Indian wedding because they're supposed to be so vibrant and whatever. And I guess we were in the part of India where they don't do like the fancy
Yeah.
weddings. And we were like, oh,
Seriously, so I gave up on it already, but I think I've been to like 4 Indian weddings, and none of them met my expectations that were set very high by all the Bollywood movies.
did you not go to Ajit's
Yeah, but
wedding, the
it's
first one?
so they did have, oh my God, a horse or an elephant. I don't remember now. But
Yes,
because
apparently it was an
Ajay
elephant.
being Indian, his wife at the time was Italian, so it was like half Indian. So like I'm saying, nothing. I'm expecting some Bollywood celebrities, to come dancing and everything, and that has not happened yet.
Well, maybe one day we will get to experience one of those weddings. I know I've heard like amazing stories. Our neighbors when we lived in Malaysia upstairs, they were well, they're an Indian couple, and they go to like the most fabulous weddings. And I'm hearing about these stories of like these $1 million weddings in India, and just like everybody gets like a private makeup artist and stuff. And I'm like, what? It's crazy. Yeah.
I did meet people who had that type of a wedding. It's just that they got married before I knew them. So yeah, that's as close as I got.
One day we will get to experience this. Hopefully we'll get to meet up again and go travel to India and go to a wedding. That'd be so great. Well, I mean, I've been following you from afar. It's been 8 years. I feel very connected to you. Our birthdays are on the same day. So we have so much like same going on.
Yes.
And It's great. Like you've stayed in Asia for most of the time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's going to be like a decade. So we met in Malaysia, working for Mind Valley. Then I went to actually moved to Bali. Then I moved to Thailand. Now I'm back in Bali. So yeah, it's really crazy if I think of this. Huh? We're having, I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's some weird local crickets. This is the beauty of Bali. Wait for it. When we hear chickens. This is when you know we're in Bali.
Oh my God. I remember, I think it was one of the first couple of weeks that I was living in Malaysia and I got sick right away. I got a fever and I'm working from home on my laptop and I look up and I see like two geckos. Remember how they used to be like really loud? They
Oh
would
yeah.
like, yeah, they have like they make this crazy noise. Anyway, so there's two geckos on my wall and they start like fighting and I'm like, okay, is this actually happening or am I hallucinating from this fever? Like what is going on right now?
Well, babes, last year was it like no 2 years ago when I moved back to Bali, right? And I see there's this little things like moving literally like in the wall, and I'm like, there's a scorpion in my wall. No one believed me because they said, what? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, it's a scorpion. A week after that was Saturday, day of Kali. And I find literally in the place where I saw this little things moving, I found a skin. So I actually didn't know that scorpions like lose the skin the way spiders do. But yeah, it was a very small one, but yeah, it was like an actual skin, from a scorpion. So I'm like, here you have a proof that yes, it is a scorpion. And guess what? It's doing fine and it's growing.
And it's living somewhere in my house.
She's like stuck in my bedroom. The same day, I found a snake skin also in my room. I'm like, this is too much. And oh my god! By the way, that is like it's like a crazy story. So we were working with the like Balinese healer. I told her all of the stories about the animals, and she said, "Oh, we need to like protect your house. You're being attacked by black magic." So we had to do special ceremonies, and my ceremony included sacrificing a chicken. Yeah, I was like, okay, I just yeah, Bali. It's interesting, but it's also weird. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I swear we've had so many well, okay, yeah. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, but like these are experiences that you can look back on and be like, I have lived a very full life. Like I have seen a lot of shit. Like, I haven't been in Asia for the past 10 years. I was only there for like 2.5. But like if I died tomorrow, I'd be like, cool. I've done a lot of things. Like I've seen a lot of shit. I'm good. Very full life so far.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. And I think Asia, Bali, they're so colorful. Like India is
Mhm.
so colorful. It's absolutely crazy and doesn't make sense. But I think that's
Yeah.
what makes it so special.
Yeah, I do. I miss some of that. But yeah. And now here we are 10 years later and you are a tantra expert. I don't like when did you get into this? Were you already doing this when I knew you back in the Mind Valley days or was this something that you started doing a little bit later?
It's actually really funny because when I got to Mind Valley, like I don't know what it was for you, but Mind Valley, many people know it, of course, now. At that time, it was just like 60 people, total startup. And I got to Mind Valley, and I didn't actually know what they were doing. Coming from like a Western, very logical life. And so I land in Mind Valley, and then I see all of these programs, and all I'm thinking is, what is this bullshit?
You weren't into personal development at all?
No, because there's some misunderstanding. I thought that personal growth meant like soft skills, which I was always into. And I get there and people tell me like, oh, you have such nice energy. And I'm like, what the fuck is this place? I was like,
Oh my
oh
god, they
my
were
God,
about
I
like
was
the
terrified.
Silva method and shit back then. That's so funny.
Yeah, seriously. But I had to go through the courses that we were selling because that was my job to sell them. So I was like slowly opening up for this. And then I think, you know what, Kuala Lumpur, if you remember, something that I find I'm very, very grateful for is that actually Kuala Lumpur had a lot of like studios and healers and like possibilities to learn like working with energy. So I did like workshops, Ayurvedic workshops, chakra healing, crystal healing, theta healing, and all of these things. I actually got to do them in Kuala Lumpur. So I learned a lot of these things already. From Mind Valley was one thing, then all of these people in person in Kuala Lumpur, and for me, like it happened when my relationship ended, and one of the kind of main reasons was because I wasn't having orgasm. And of course I was like trying to like just never talk about it, maybe no one will notice an issue, right? But like it was an issue. And I think that specifically like awakened in me interest in going into tantra and sacred sexuality and sexual healing. But again, we're talking like 10 years ago. Like now if you go on Instagram and you put tantra, you're going to find so much. But 10 years ago, no one was even using Instagram. And tantra was not available online. So it was like setting an intention and then just slowly getting more into this world, because again I couldn't really learn anything online. So I heard about this tantra yoga school in India, so I did my teacher training there. I actually didn't like the school. I thought it was really bad. Then I learned about agama. I already heard about agama, like some bad gossip, how horrible this place is, and then eventually ended up doing some energy work in Bali and then moving to agama in Thailand. So when we knew each other, I wasn't really yet into that. I was like being prepared and exposed slowly, but it was only like maybe 3 years after that I fully stepped into this work.
Okay. Fascinating. So I'm curious because I know there's a lot of information out there about Tantra and like most people think about it a certain way. What is Tantra and what is it not?
So you know what? I think there is such a thing as traditional tantra, which is a spiritual path. And if you really want to go into details, it it was basically like you can think of it like it's a sister of yoga. So yoga was a system, was actually very it was only for men, people of certain classes, vegetarian, etc. And so tantra in a way was created in response to that. So tantra was for everyone. It was also for women. It was for all the classes, also people with darker skin. You have ceremonies that include eating meat and alcohol, and there is sex. So all of like the taboo things that didn't make it into yoga had their place in tantra. But actually, in practices, it's quite similar. But you can just think of it as a spiritual practice. It's not an ascetic practice, so it involves the physical body, working with the body and the energy. But of course, today, when we think of Tantra, most of us think of sex. And in fact, it's like we equate conscious sexuality with Tantra, which is not the same. So because tantra is a spiritual practice, it has a lot of techniques, like breath practices and working with your chakras. So what we have today, it's what we call sacred sexuality. So it kind of blends conscious sexuality and being open sexually with these techniques, like yogic techniques, and just kind of created this mix that we have these days. So a lot of people like to call it neo tantra, or modern tantra, and I think this is kind of what most of us see these days. It's like, if I meditate in silence or repeat a mantra for 1 hour, this is me doing tantra, but probably that's not the type of tantra that most people are interested in. So practically speaking, and also the tantra that I teach, um, it's a combination of like intimate life, conscious sexuality with different energy practices.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean there's so much there to explore, right?
Oh yeah.
And what do people generally come to you for when they want to learn more about this?
So I'll start by saying that I try not to overuse the word tantra, just because I think of that strong connotation with sexuality. And like, oh my goodness, even recently, I was posting something on Instagram, and I went to the, by the way, in English you say GIF, GIF, because we say GIF in Polish.
Okay. I have like a whole thing about this. When I was in design school and we were learning like web design and stuff, my teacher was like, it's GIF, like Jiffy, the peanut butter, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I've always said Jif, and I've like literally gotten into fights with people about this because everybody here wants to say GIF. So I don't know. Like I say Jif, and then some people are like, you're crazy, but that's how I learned.
So let's stick to GIFs. So I go on Instagram into GIF and I put Tantra, right? And I'm seeing, let's see what they have. And basically all I got was like these some like little icons of women doing pole dancing. Other was
Yeah.
like Playboy playmates, and I'm like, really? This is when I type tantra in Instagram, that's what I'm gonna get. So I think there's still like this, strong connotation. We have erotic workers, like sex workers doing erotic massages, and now they promote it as a tantric massage. So I just didn't really
Mm.
want to. I don't want to deal with this so much, so I don't use the word tantra as much. So that also allows me to filter people. And like I actually have people who come to me with really deep challenges. So I would have um I actually work a lot with men, which I love, because I think for a man to really open up to a woman, it's like it takes a lot. But they come, if they feel that they're blocked, that they're not open emotionally, that they want to be able to be more intimate, like feel more in their body, be more considerate lovers. So that's for me amazing. I do work a lot with couples as well. And usually, it's that moment when things are not working well anymore. And I'm sure we've all been there, right? It's like you meet someone, they're amazing, you just want to have sex all the time. And then like things start breaking. And and we just kind of hope that they're going to naturally like fix themselves. And then you get to the point when you're realizing, okay, we got to do something or we're going to lose the relationship. So in this moment, a lot of couples come to me, whether it's kids were born and like they're just kind of lost something, or like there was an issue that no one mentioned for like 2 years. Now suddenly it comes up. So yeah, I to be honest, I'm really grateful for the type of clients that I get, because these are people who have self-awareness, and it's not just like, oh, I want to have like more orgasm, but like really about bettering themselves as humans.
I love that. And then there's got to be an aspect of communication in there too, right? Because generally when we see people, naturally come out of the honeymoon phase, communication is usually what's lacking. I mean, there's a lot of things that can kind of, make things devolve a little bit, but communication is incredibly important.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if we look at communication, like there are tools, but there's a reason why we don't communicate, right? It's like if I am not used to that it's safe for me to express my boundary and ask for my needs, that it doesn't matter if I have the best tools, I'm still not going to do it. So the reason why we don't communicate comes down to all our inner work and our shadows and our fears. So yeah, it's like, if I think of myself, and I think this is like one of the main patterns, especially for women, it's like we're literally so deeply conditioned not to create a mess, not to shake things up, right? We're meant to just be obey and be nice and be subtle and make things pretty, right? It's like you always hear that the feminine makes things pretty. So if you're angry and instead of making something pretty, you're going to make a mess, you're like conditioned, don't do this or you're going to be alone. So it's especially women really struggle to say something, and we're afraid oh my god, if I say something he doesn't like, he can leave me. And for it's a bigger story, but like most of us were not raised by the most conscious fathers, so we have literally seen, right, men leave when a woman starts asking for something that she has all the right to ask for. So yeah, it's actually with the communication, it's like literally most of the work I would say comes down to that. But it's more than communication, right? It's like healing our inner child, our wounds, just watching why am I so terrified of saying something, and then like communication follows naturally.
Hmm. Okay, and so like, say for women, is this something that they can work with you one on one with, or is this something that needs to happen with a partner?
I think both. If someone has a partner, then of course practice with them, but just practice with anyone. I think like because whether you're single or in a relationship, like you can practice this everywhere. But I find it, and also just personally, that it's really the little situations where we learn to speak up, right? It's like, let's say someone is offering you, like, even let's say, the two of us, right? You're like, hey, let's do the let's do the podcast together. Awesome. If you don't want to do it, right? This is your chance to practice, to be able to say, hey, listen, thank you so much for the offer. It sounds amazing. At this time, I have a lot of things going on, so I just don't have space to dedicate to this, right? So, like, every situation is an opportunity for us to be like, first, okay, let me go within to check what I actually want, right? Like, know myself first, and be okay. Now let's communicate it. Because sometimes, bringing things up with the partner who, if we think of it, is like the most important person in your life, right? Like when you're in a relationship, that is usually your number one person. So of course the stakes are very different. If you upset them and they will leave, you're like gonna be terrified. Your subconscious is terrified. So of course, practice on strangers, practice on like your friends or your family. And then it's like, it's a skill. So it's not a relationship skill, it's a skill, right? That just present everywhere. So my way would be, start with small things. And for some people, you may have already all need the tools and understanding to do it on your own. If it's a new thing, that yeah, you want to probably work with a coach or do some program that will give you some of those tools and will make you more aware. But like, start with small things that don't feel as scary, and then this builds confidence, like, hey, I actually can prioritize myself, I can stand up for myself, and then like gives the extra energy to then like face bigger conversations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I feel like intimacy is kind of a big theme that you work with, right? And like, I feel like there's so many health aspects to intimacy. And I mean, just like physical touch, right? Like there's different chemicals and things that are released in the body. And I mean, especially with what has happened in the past few years, I think we were already very much lacking in intimacy. And now it's even worse. And so I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that concept and like the health implications of not being, able to experience intimacy in the level that humans are really built for.
Mm. That is probably like the main thing I always say. um, so the need for intimacy, it's one of the core needs, and it's a survival need, right? So just like you need to drink water and you need the sun to survive, we need intimacy to survive. There's this experiment, it was done on monkeys, and like they took baby monkeys and they tested, like the monkey could choose a mother with food or a mother that felt cozy. So it's like a fake mother, like a robot that had food, and another one that had a blanket, like a nice fluffy blanket. And in about 80%, the baby monkey would choose the mother that felt comfortable over the food. So especially like this shows us that when it comes to like infants, right, that intimacy, then that touch is way more important than nutrients. Now, I think parenting is changing and we have this understanding that you're meant to hold the child. But even for my mom, right, so just one generation up, it was a normal practice that the moment that the child is born, you first take the child to wash the child, and only then a mother can touch it. My brother, who was born prematurely, he was put in the incubator for I don't know how long before they could even touch, right? So already notice how much trauma that causes, right? If that is the most important thing you need the moment you're born. Um, the generation before our parents believed that when a child cries, you shouldn't comfort the child because they're going to be spoiled. So now, like literally, a child is screaming, right? I need this to survive, and we're not giving it on purpose. Like when I think of this, I'm just getting like, oh my god. Um, so I think we need to first of all like understand that this is a need and how important that need is, because we shame it so much. We still shame it. So notice this dynamic, right? This is where women have it easier and better. So when you're a child, a boy or a girl, it's okay. You will be touched. You'll get your intimacy. You're getting a bit older. A girl is still gonna get affection. A boy, well, not anymore, because you're now a boy and boys don't get hugged. So already a young man is not getting affection. When he becomes a man, if he touches a woman who's not his girlfriend, well, you're sleazy or you're cheating, right? So he doesn't get to have intimacy with other women. He doesn't get to have intimacy with other men, because then he's labeled, you're gay, right? Because that's apparently in our society offensive. And if he tries to be intimate with kids, he can be labeled a pedophile. So men, especially, are extremely, extremely disconnected from this. As women, it's a bit easier because I can be in public with you and I can cuddle you and hug you, and I'm not going to be judged. I can, play with kids and embrace a child. Nothing will happen. I can even embrace another man. And again, he will be called the asshole, not me. So it's a bit easier for women. And like, especially for men, it's very, very difficult. The design of the society really basically makes men starving for affection. So again, if you think of like, that the monkey will choose affection over food, notice how broken men become because of that. But then of course, on top of this, let's add this whole idea that like the whole society thinks that it's wrong to touch and inappropriate, and this whole like, basically keep your distance or have sex, right? As like there's nothing in between. So for most of us, the way to have this intimacy is through sex. So if you're not having sex right now, that means you don't get to have your intimacy. So it's really like fucked up, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, I wish that everyone was having uncomfortable 20-second hugs, and that people would do contact dance, and that we would have cuddle puddles as like a normal thing, because it's actually, like you said, yeah, it impacts our hormones. It is needed. It's for our health. It's not being needy. No one is needy if they need intimacy and affection. It is an actual survival need.
Yeah, I think about that often because I've heard of that study as well. And it makes me sad to think of how many people are just, home alone, not getting that nourishment that they need, And we kind of have like this, I don't know, it's almost like an epidemic of singleness too that's happening right now, which is frustrating and it's too bad. And I think there's a lot of different things that come into play there. And actually, I watched one of your videos that I thought was really interesting that kind of helped me with this a little bit. Okay, you're going to have to refresh my memory because I don't remember exactly how it
Which
went,
one was
but
that?
it was cool. Okay, so it was something about, I did make a note. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So it was like your perspective about not everyone being lucky in love based
I
on
know.
like your life path and astrology. Can you explain that? Because I was like, shit, that makes so much sense.
So I'll be honest with this one specifically. It's something I'm still looking at and trying to understand. But I watch myself, I watch my friends, and I watch people in general, and I just sometimes wonder. And it's not just about relationships, but I'm just like, why is it that for some people some things seem to work? I'm not saying that they're not doing any work in this direction, but it's like you may have two people who put in the exact same effort, and just this person, it works for them and it doesn't work for that. And yes, so like I have lots and lots of friends who seem to just be really lucky in love. They easily meet partners, it's like it just flows. And quite honestly, I know it sounds a bit weird, especially with the work that I do, but I would personally consider myself having challenges with relationships. So again, if we look at like karma and astrology, they often say that if you like zoom out and look at your soul and what your soul is here for, is that if there is a main theme for your soul to explore, a main lesson, so this will be where you will be having most challenges, then this will be also natural for you to maybe coach or assist others in this way, because that's how my soul is experiencing the lesson. So another way how you can think of this is you have a lot of people who, for example, are not athletes, but they're amazing coaches to athletes, right? So this is kind of like they usually wanted to be athletes, but it wasn't their path. Their path was to assist other people. We have in astrology, I don't know if it's pronounced Chiron or Chiron,
Yeah,
but
Chiron.
there you go. So, for example, it's called the wounded healer, which is it represents the part of us that is like our biggest wound, and it's the biggest struggle of our whole life. But this is also the area where we will be healing the most by helping other people heal that specific wound. So I've been, of course, looking at these things myself, because like I literally, like, I'll give you an example. There's this guy that I was very interested in. We had like a little bit of like connection online, and I was still in Europe. He was in a different country in Europe, and he was actually coming to Bali and then off to Australia, right? It's like, oh my God, amazing. I get to meet him. Yeah. He left Bali a week before I get back, and I'm like, this is not up to me, right? But things like this would happen. And so what I found is that, and this is like my spiritual views on everything, but I believe we co-create our reality with the spirit. So there's part, right? Let's say half of my life is up to me. It's up to my effort, my decisions, my behavior. And another half, it's up to the spirit. And it's not up to me, right? It's like, if I drive my bike to the gym and there is an accident, that, and I cannot get to the gym, I did my part. I left home to get to the gym. Something happened outside of my control that is not allowing me to do it. So I think this is true for everything. And I also think it's true for the relationships. And I will say that for some people, simply, it just seems like, if they do their part, the other part from the spirit, it just doesn't happen. And I cannot tell you exactly how. Definitely, if you look into astrology, especially Vedic astrology, can give you details. So you have, the house that's responsible for relationships. So I, for example, have Rahu in the house of relationships, and Rahu
Mm.
represents the needs that you can never meet, right? So it's not the
Mm.
most good position. And I remember even looking at like one of my exes. He really, like, he has a very bad pattern, and like his astrology is extremely bad for relationships. So it's like you can actually see this. Now, it's not that you cannot have a relationship, I think, but I will say that I don't think it's all up to us. So I'm saying, like, do your part, because you never know. And then some people are given things from the spirit. Grace, we say that grace, it's not up to us,
Mm.
just God may choose to grace you or not. So that's been just kind of my observation. I don't know, what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's interesting because I've noticed that as well. And, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I've had very few long term relationships in my life and was always quite challenged. There was a lot that I needed to learn because relationships weren't really modeled for me appropriately, I think. Like for a lot of us in our generation, right? Like, not anything against my family, but it's just, yeah, I think a lot of us are learning so much more about how to relate. And I had patterns that needed to be broken. But yeah, I mean, I have noticed just for so many people, it's just easy. And for me, it's just not. And like, just nothing even appears. Like for me, it's just like there's nothing even that appears that I even want to date. So I've gone like literally years, like without even going on a date, right? Which is kind of wild and could be looked at as maybe a little bit sad. But for me, there's a lot of spiritual growth that happens there. And I've had to make a reckoning with that. And what I've kind of come to understand, and what you mentioned about the wounded healer, like I very much feel that concept for myself, but it's more along the lines of health, right? So like my hardest challenges in life have been health. That's why I created a health company. That's why we have this podcast, because I've had to do so many fucking things in order just to keep myself functioning with chronic illness. But I've done so many amazing things that have helped me, and now I get to tell people about them, and hopefully that can help them on their healing journeys as well. And so I'm like, okay, well, I know that is definitely my biggest challenge. So like this relationship thing is kind of bullshit. Like I'm 38 now. I've had enough, you know? And but according to my chart and the intuitive people that I work with, this piece for me is supposed to be coming together here actually fairly soon. And what was communicated to me, like through, intuitive guidance and stuff, is that, this person that I'm supposed to meet, there's a mission there, and I had to go through really, really hard things alone, right? I had to be by myself. I had to do the contemplation. I had to do the work. I had to go and do all of the shadow stuff and the dark night of the soul and all of that in order to be strong enough for the things that are coming up next in my life. And I'm like, gross. That's annoying.
That's all I have to say.
So fucking annoying. Cool. Cool. Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, like it's been 38 years and it's like, I don't think that like I'm a particularly shitty person. I've worked on myself a lot. And, and then there's also a lot of the conversation about like, the dating pool is just literally actually quite small. And especially for women, because women are looking for men who have done the work, and not as many men do the work as women. And there's just a lot of expectations that aren't being met anymore. And it's too bad because it's really nobody's fault for the exact reasons that you were talking about before. There's a lot of wounding with the masculine because of, all of these ridiculous societal expectations and things as men are growing up. And it's tragic, right? It's tragic for everybody. And now we're seeing it play out, and it's very evident. And it's too bad because now we kind of have like this health crisis layered on top of all of the other fucking health crises that, we're currently facing. And now it's loneliness and lack of touch. So great society. Look where we are, right? How do we fucking fix this, Magda? How do we fix this?
I do want to add something, and can I thank you for inspiring this. So, when you talked about health, right? We really do live in a society that just like basically makes us unhealthy, right? Like if you want to be healthy and you live in a big city and like you have a very stressful job and you are in front of the screens all the time, you're not connected to nature, right? So it's not even like by your choice, it's just how the society works, right? So it
Mhm.
is way more difficult to actually be healthy. So this is also something that's happening with the dating pool, like you said. It's the reality is that, and of course it's not black and white, but with the whole like sexual and women empowerment movement, the pill, we started owning our sexuality, which is great, but at the same time it really changed the rules of the game. Because if you think of it, in the past, if a man wanted to have sex, right, he needed to really commit. He's like, I'm gonna not just provide for you, I'm gonna provide for you until you die and your children, right? And right
Mhm.
now men can get whatever they want without having to give in return things. Now I know that a lot of people like, disagree with this, but this is our biology, this is our evolution, right? As in like,
Yeah.
men want sex, we want a relationship. I know it's a
Mhm.
simplification, but that is practically what is happening, right? So right now women are giving sex to men without expecting in return what it is that we truly want. And so
Mhm.
even for me in Bali here, we just kind of chatted about this before. It's like, and I noticed this already when I moved here first quite many years ago. It's like you have so many beautiful women who are practicing tantra, so they're just super sexually open because they think they're goddesses, right? So they will openly connect with men. If I was a man, would I take this or would I go into a relationship with one woman? I'm
Mhm.
not blaming these men because I wouldn't do it either. Because to be in a relationship, especially for a man, comes with a high price. So these days, for men, they're not getting a lot of benefits from doing that. So if
Mhm.
you like, we have men who want families, right? But this is like, you have all of these. There's like a certain path of development for men they go through, and only when they're kind of on the end of the path, this is in our society when they finally get into committed relationships, because the society doesn't require this from them. And this is another very important thing. It's like, what I actually like, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done with women, but I think we are not understanding how much work we should be doing with men. I remember once hearing this, that you are born a woman. You naturally become a woman when you're born, and then when you have your menstruation, and then if you have pregnancy, right, there's certain things that happen to us. For a man, like a boy is forged into a man, so a man needs to be challenged, right, to be a man. And right now our
Mhm.
society doesn't require boys to become men, so they don't.
Mhm.
We
There's
don't
no
require.
rite of passage.
Exactly. We don't require them to take responsibility for a woman or a family, right? Because these days a woman has money, so why he doesn't have to. It's not required of him, so he doesn't do it. But this is why we have now an issue with a lot of what some people call beta men or feminine men, or like just like boys, right? Stuck in a man's body, because there isn't enough expectation and enough challenges that would force them to really step up as a strong, confident, solid masculine man. And yeah, we are lacking that because the societal structure has changed. So again, like when I also say like being unlucky in love, I think it would be really helpful if we also understood that just like it's really hard to be super healthy in our society, right? It is hard
Mm-hmm.
to be in a relationship because of how the society works.
Mm. Yeah. So many challenges, right? Like, uh, yeah, I'm just thinking there's so many layers there. And what I find disappointing too is that anytime I find like a really amazing teacher on Instagram or something, right? So like Mark Groves was just on the podcast last week, and he has really great content about relationships and all of these things that are helpful for like all parties in a relationship. But like the majority of his followers are women, right? And like you generally find like if you're in a partnership, women have to kind of like drag the men in like kicking and screaming. And so it's kind of interesting that all of your clients are men, right? Like you're not having to coerce anybody into working with you. And that's really cool because it looks like you really are an advocate for men. And what is it that's different? Is it because there's like that layer of sexuality that you think helps kind of draw them in a little bit? It kind of like, wakes them up and gets them a little bit excited? Like, what do you think that is?
Hi, I'm Maddie. Let me tell you a quick story of how I'm supporting my PCOS with Wild Remedies Spiced Chocolate Magic Latte. First of all, I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, so you know I'm investing in finding long-term, sustainable approaches to wellness. Living with PCOS, when things are feeling a little out of balance, it's common for me to wake up groggy, have blood sugar crashes throughout the day, or become totally overwhelmed by daily stressors. My morning coffee was causing blood sugar spikes, anxiety, and tummy trouble, so I swapped it for Wild Remedies Spiced Chocolate Magic Latte about a year ago. And believe me when I tell you that the change has been insane. Each sachet has 3 servings of wild Siberian chaga, a powerful antioxidant-rich adaptogenic mushroom that helps to fight inflammation and fatigue and regulate the immune system. It tastes like a creamy hot chocolate with just a hint of spice, and it keeps my stomach calm. Since swapping, I feel more clarity and calm throughout the day, and my morning magic latte helps to set clear intentions for the rest of my day. I save 15% on my monthly subscription at wildremediesshop.com, and at $2.50 per serving, it's saving me a ton on Starbucks runs and supplement orders. Check out the links and promos in the show notes to get your own. Your adrenals will thank you.
So I do personally also find it quite interesting that I predominantly work with men. And this is one of those things that I will be like, that's apparently what my soul is meant to do in this life. Like
Yeah.
I don't fully get it. And I've been looking at this, I'm like, why don't I attract more women to my work? It's mostly men, then couples, and then women. But women are like the smallest group, absolutely. Um, and I think there's definitely something in my energy that attracts them. But again, I personally like I look at life from like a higher perspective, so I honestly believe that this is like what my soul is meant to do here. If you want to get like more woohoo, we're both Virgos and
Mhm.
9-9. A Virgo is a teacher. A Virgo is the energy of the high priestess. And my actual name is Magda, and then middle name is Magdalena. So I have the double name of the same.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
And
know that.
yeah, and she is a tantric priestess, right? Like she was a priestess. So it's
Mm.
like I do feel very strong resonance with Mary Magdalene, with the lineage of Rose. Even though I don't
Mm.
study this, I just like even now I'm getting shivers when I say this. Like I just know, and it's the energy of a Virgo, and it's all together. So like I believe that I was put in this life born on that specific day with that specific, zodiac sign, and all the energies align, the name, etc., because of that, because that's aligned with like a bigger mission. So that's like a woohoo aspect of all of this. And on practical level, it definitely is this, the fact that I'm a woman and I talk about sex. And this is something I found very interesting because men don't have a space to do it. And especially these days when we talk so much about conscious masculinity and tantric sexuality, which is mostly considered that it's very slow and gentle. And so men feel like I don't get to say certain things because it will feel like I'm an asshole, like I only want sex. But this is a part of them. And I've always made space for this. And I think there is this aspect that they just feel very comfortable being able to speak about sex to a woman without being judged. Because for most men, the experience is that when they do talk about sex, they're judged because they're, oh, you're an animal, you're an asshole, you man whore, all of these things, right? Because men don't talk about sex like, oh, can I just gently caress every inch of your body? That's not how men talk about sex, right?
I mean, I don't know. I've had some shit happen like that to me before, and I was just kind of like, no, I don't.
Well,
I'm
that's the
not
thing. See, for me, if I hear a man do this, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, this is a freaking learned behavior. It's manipulation, and this man is not to be trusted. Men can enjoy delicate things and delicate sex totally, but if a man like says things like this and he's not owning the animal in him that wants to fuck, and I'm like, okay, you're not in touch with your true energy, so I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, because intuitively, I'm just like, something is weird here. Like, no, nobody talks like this. Yeah. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay. Well, okay, so what does sexual mastery look like, right? Like if somebody's going to start working with you, like what is kind of like the end goal that people are kind of wanting to achieve and get to?
So, you know how, the pendulum, right? So we come from the place of incredible sexual suppression. Sex is bad, you shouldn't have it, all of this, right? Now, what we've been seeing is the opposite. Again, the pendulum goes the opposite way, which is like some people call it like sexual liberation or empowerment. But it goes to a place where you sleep with a lot of people, like sex is not a big deal. And I don't think that that's what sexual mastery or sexual empowerment is. For me, it's in between of these two. So to me, it's actually understanding the power of sexuality, like truly understanding how potent this energy is. So be in touch with it. Like you have to face it to know it. So if you keep shaming sexuality, if you're not letting your true sexual desires come out, it means that you're afraid of that power and you never even come close to it, right? So on one hand, you have to come close to the power to really truly feel it and allow it to be present in your life, but you're not letting it run your life, which is, I believe, a lot of like tantric communities these days are. Again, like if I go back to being here in Bali, there was a few years ago, I went for ecstatic dance and I have to be honest, like to me, it was really horrible. There was a girl, I knew her in her about, I think she was 20 or 21. And she started dancing with a guy who looked to be in his 50s or 60s. It was a very sensual dance. And to me, this is not okay. Like you're it's like, to me, it's like spiritual prostitution almost. It's like you're throwing your sexual energy because you know the power of this energy, but you don't fully understand the sacredness. And you don't understand that sex is a big deal. So if I see people who be like, oh, sex isn't a big deal, I'm like, then you don't know what sex is. It's a huge deal. But don't be afraid of the power. And that balance, to me, that is true sexual mastery or sexual empowerment. Right? So it's like when you truly know how precious it is, you don't just give it like this in all directions, right? And again, a lot of people these days, they don't understand how valid it is. And like, especially women, they just like, oh, because if I don't have sex with this boy, he will like not want to date me, things like this, right? Like we give away sex because we want to please people. right? That is not understanding the potency of sexual energy. But at the same time, it doesn't mean like, oh yeah, let's just have sex with everyone because it's amazing. It's like, it's not. It's like, it's a big thing. I had this conversation recently. Every time we have sex, it's an offering, because you actually give a part of your life force energy when you have sex. So you die every single time you have sex. I don't know French, but the name for the orgasm in French means a little death, right? As in,
Yeah.
like, a part of you dies. So it's an offering. It's a huge energy entanglement with someone else. So be mindful of these two parts and when they come together. So when the pendulum comes to
Mm.
the middle, to that point, that is for me sexual mastery.
Mm. I love it. Yeah. It's just like having this reverence. And I think that's something that just intuitively for myself, I've kind of just fallen into, right? This is why I go for months, if not years, being
Wait,
with
but
someone.
me too. I'll just say this as well, because I had this conversation with someone. We shame celibacy in our times,
Mm.
because again,
Hmm.
we're trying to like counteract the sexual suppression by having a lot of sex and having, like, losing virginity at 14 or something. So when someone is like in their 20s and they're still a virgin, we like shame them. So there's so much shame around not having sex, and I really wish that we stopped doing this. This is meant to be also like a Virgo thing. It's like, unless someone really fits, we would rather not get engaged in the drama, and we can go long periods without a partner and without actually sex as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I also do this myself, because for me, when I am involved with someone, it impacts me hugely. Like, it impacts
Yeah.
everything. And so I'm very, very picky, I would say, whose
Hmm.
energy I want in my life.
Yeah, exactly. That is, yes, you articulated that perfectly. I feel exactly the same way because I spent, my younger years, my adolescence and my 20s just giving that energy away. Right. And for me, it was like, well, this is the only way to get attention. This is the only way that guys will, want to be with me, whatever. So, contributed to a little bit of what we're seeing in society these days. And there was just so much of me that I gave away for so many years. And then just at one point, I was like, I just cannot do this anymore. Right. Like I would find myself in a situation where, I'd be hooking up with somebody that I didn't know very well and I would just start crying. And I'm like, ooh, okay. This is not fun anymore. Like this is just, yeah, there's a lot of emotions here with somebody that I do not know, and that is just not what I want to engage with anymore in my life. And so, yeah, it's very much the same thing. Like unless it is very much perfect and divine, like I do have a lot of reverence. And because I have spent so much time alone, I've done a lot of self-study and I've, done a lot of research on these types of things, we'll say. And yeah, like there is so much power there. I recently read the Magdalene manuscript. And I was just like, wow, yeah, like I can't wait until I get to practice this with someone. It's wonderful that they have like a solo practice as well. But yeah, like, I mean, there's just so much transformation that can happen with partnership. But because there is so much wounding in society, it's got to be a really good fit. Like, if you want to grow through partnership and to be able to experiment in those ways, you got to find somebody who is willing to do that work with you. And so it can take a while, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather wait than be in a relationship with the wrong person, because I've been there as well, and it doesn't turn out well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think again, it's like every person has their own unique path, and I think for some people, it's like being in a relationship is good for them. I resonate with what you were sharing, that there are certain lessons I'm going through in this life, and I know that they're different because I go through them on my own. Like if I was in a
Mhm.
relationship, I would try to outsource a lot of it. It's like, oh my God, I don't
Yep.
want to face it. Can you just embrace me? Can you give me some affection so I don't have to face it on my own? And the whole point for me is that I am meant to face it on my own. Like I am meant to face the incredible feeling of feeling lonely, right? Of feeling alone, of feeling unloved. If there was a loving, caring, beautiful, considerate partner next to me, I wouldn't be seeing this, right? So I'm also recognizing that for me, um, whatever is my path in this life, right? There's a reason why I'm not yet in this partnership. I really hope I will, but I know that this is what is for me. And I think for other people, there may be, their soul is learning other things. So for them, being in not a great relationship may be much better. I'm more like you, as in, I do feel really good being on my own. I enjoy this life. It's not bad at all. So I'm also like, if I want to bring someone in, like especially for a woman, our relationship impacts everything. So if the relationship is good, everything becomes good. But if it's bad, everything becomes bad. And like I always say, I would rather be single than be in a bad relationship. That's kind of the bottom line. And I know not everyone has to feel the same way, but I feel, again, one of the paths of like feeling empowered in our sexuality is understanding what is my path, and follow this path, not what someone else is doing. Just because someone does this type of a relationship or approaches it this way, this is our unique path. I was like, so I have to, I'm gonna vent a little bit. I really do not like when I see these people online. Like, we have so many big people online who basically they like show you who they are, right? It's like, hey, be like me. And then people end up working with them, signing up with them as coaches. But I'm like, you're not meant to be like them. The job of a coach is like, my job as a coach is not to show you, oh, be like me, look, this is possible. No, my job is to help you understand what is possible for you and what your path is, not to copy my path. I don't want you to want to have what I have, because it's my path. I have my dreams, my successes, my fears, my blockages, right? My job is to help you understand your path, not to copy mine. And I think in times of Instagram, it's just like, people are like influencers and celebrities for the fact that they just document every second of their life. And then people like pay them money because they think they're going to get some of this, but that's not your path. And like, yeah, that's one of my intentions, like, just for every human, just honor where you are and honor what are your unique challenges in this life and what your talents and successes are, because you're you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that perspective. Okay. I mean, everybody's going to want to work with you now. I think this is so great. You're such an amazing wealth of knowledge and just a really beautiful, articulate teacher, Magda, like honestly. And this is such powerful work. I think it's important that everybody, if you haven't, started approaching some of this, I think it's probably time for everybody, especially with the health implications that we've been talking about on this episode. There's so many different layers and so many reasons why this type of work is really important. What does it look like working with you?
Well, um, so I do one-on-one work, and I
Mhm.
also have online resources if someone prefers doing things on their own. By the way, now I don't know if you can see here the construction. That's another typical
Uh-huh.
Balinese thing. It's like, you guys
Yep.
know, rain, chickens, dogs, or construction.
All good.
So if someone would like to work with me one-on-one, we can do this online via like online coaching. But again, it's the
Mhm.
it's the type of coaching that incorporates a lot of meditation, visualization, shaking, breathing, and doing things, because we want to engage the body. We're not just working on the mental level. So either online coaching, I also do sessions in person. So this is where we get to do practical exercises together. And just recently, we launched the School of Intimacy, which is our online platform for anyone who wants to study these arts more. So we talk about everything: communication tools, like you mentioned at the beginning, tantric sexuality for men and women, non-ejaculation for men. And we're adding more and more every month. So I'm super excited about this. So if you prefer just doing things on your own, that would be also a great place.
Wonderful. Okay. And how can people find you?
Sorry, love, could you repeat the question, because it just broke for a second?
Yep. How can people find you?
So everything will be under Magda Kay. So it can Mag- Oh, so I think we're having a little delay.
Oh, it should be okay now.
Oh, yes, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
I where they can find me.
yes, where can
Yes,
people
you can
find
find
you?
me in my bedroom now in Bali. And online you can go, so Magda Kay, and then the website is magdakay.com. Instagram is Magda Kay official. YouTube channel will also be Magda Kay, so you can just put literally Magda Kay and you're gonna find all of the needed websites and resources online.
Yay. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. It is just so good to see you again. Now I'm just like, okay, we need to get together. We need to go traveling. Like, are you doing any retreats or anything coming up?
So I started doing retreats, and then COVID happened, and I had to move my retreat 3 times, and it was so much hassle and stress. I was like, no, I'm done with that. So
Yeah.
instead, what I do now, it's private retreats. So this is either for singles or for couples, and you can basically spend 3 days or a full week with me. These are VIP packages, so I put you in, like, 5-star luxurious hotel, and we spend basically most of the day together. So I do retreats of that sort around the world, but again, these are private, one-on-one for the client.
Mhm.
I don't do the group retreats anymore, and we'll see. Maybe one day I will do it again. But I also found, that people, like, again, I come from like the tantric community where we love cuddle puddles and everyone is open in front of everyone. But what I also realize is that people prefer having that intimate space with me to open up, and when you have other couples there, they just don't feel as safe. And so I also understand it and respect it. So that's one of the reasons why I do mostly work one-on-one.
Awesome. All right. Well, you heard the amazing Magda Kay. Everybody get in touch with her if it feels aligned. And yeah, so great to see you again, love. So
I
happy you were here.
know, I'm so happy to see you, and I cannot imagine how long it's been, and also where you are with the podcast and the company. Wow, super proud.
Yeah.
Super proud.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, that's it for today's episode. And we will see you on the next episode of the Wild Remedies podcast. Thanks so much for sharing your time and energy with us today. We'd love to hear your feedback on how our podcast has impacted your life, and are also open to suggestions for new and interesting topics. Please leave your comments with a quick review to help us grow this magical community of wellness warriors and light workers. Every month, we select one lucky reviewer to win our big magic box, containing all 3 of our beautiful magic lattes. To connect with us further, check us out on Instagram at wild_remedies. Thank you again, and see you at the next episode.